OwnBet.com, #1 MMA sportsbook in the world. They offer the best UFC odds, live betting, and covers all big MMA promotions with huge prop markets and odds. OwnBet also runs an exclusive MMA pick'em for UFC events. Parlay each event and win up to $2,500 in cash. Entry fee is only $1 for each bet slip. Use promo code Fight Society and get the best MMA bonus out there, 200% bonus. Sign up today at OwnBet.com. That's OwnBet, OHMBET.com.
Go. Check it out.
You're listening to Fight Society with Damon Martin and Jeremy Loper.
Check it out.
Yes, guys. It is the Fight Society podcast back at you. My name is Loper. My co-host, as always, the one and only badass Damon Martin.
We got a lot going on this week, not only with fights, but here in Columbus, Ohio, our respective, well, we'll say hometown, not either one of us are from here, but dealing with people trying to leave our city. Talking about that before the show, Columbus Crew trying to leave us. What the hell's up with that?
Yeah, our MLS franchise, man. The owner announced that he was considering moving the team to Austin.
See, this is one benefit. This is one benefit of being a mixed martial arts fan, because you can become a fan of a fighter, but you're not worried about them like leaving. You know what I mean? Like
that is true.
That's the only downside of like becoming a team sport fan. Sometimes is like outside, obviously colleges, but I mean like pro sports, man. There's always that threat. Like I always feel like I'm not a Cleveland Browns fan at all. I have a big philosophy: if it's brown, flush it down. But like when that team left and they went to Baltimore, like I felt bad for Cleveland fans because like they were super passionate about their team, and Art Modell was a bastard. You know, they left that team, left them in the lurch. You know what I mean? Like,
I didn't really sympathize with the people of Cleveland until now, really. To be honest with you, you don't realize what somebody's losing. I'm a fan of the Crew. I like it. Until I moved to Columbus, really wasn't into soccer. One of my really good friends played for the team, retired member of the team. He's now the brand ambassador. Has a lot to do with it. Brought me closer to the game. But my wife played into college.
Yeah.
My wife's pretty good. So, I mean, soccer is a thing that my kids do. And yeah, so if you want to participate, man, hashtag save the Crew. I would appreciate it. I know Damon likes to go to games, and we appreciate it here in Columbus.
Your boy, who's become a friend of mine as well, Frankie Hayduke, is who you're talking about. He's one of the nicest guys in the world, and he's the brand ambassador. And yeah, I mean, because I'm not a big soccer guy, to be honest, but when you live in Columbus, it's kind of like, you just automatically become a Buckeyes fan. You kind of become a Crew fan. You kind of become a Crew. Columbus it's a big city, but it's a close-knit community, and you kind of root for the teams that are here. So, like, everyone is a Crew fan. Everyone's a Buckeye fan. Everyone, in some way, is a Blue Jacket fan. Like, you root for the teams from this town. And, yeah, hopefully the Crew stick around. But that's, like I said, I know it's a weird thing to relate that to mixed martial arts, but I guess that's one benefit of mixed martial arts is you don't really have that where you're devoted to a fighter or, a group of fighters or whatever. That's one of the downside of team sports is you always have to worry something like this can come up look at what the Chargers, look at the Chargers, what they're doing in LA right now. They're bombing in attendance and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, how bad do you feel for San Diego right now? Like, they wanted their team to stay, and now the Los Angeles Chargers are like, the attendance is awful.
Well, I mean, I don't know what they expected. There's so much to do in Los Angeles.
No. Well, there's a reason why all the teams left Los Angeles in the first place.
I mean, I'm from South Florida originally, so, I understand poor attendance with sports teams. I'm a lifelong Miami Dolphins fan. And you will go to a lot of Dolphin games where there's more of the opposing team than there are, especially Jets and Patriots games.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, it's absolutely insane.
You just said that publicly, too, that you're a Dolphins fan.
Big time, man. Come on. We're 3-0. Firing into the season.
Dolphins.
You didn't even want to believe that. You had to think about it. You hear that, you can't even believe that's true.
I'm trying to think. Well, I root for the Bengals, so my
yeah. So you're in the same boat. I mean, come on, Icky Woods.
Yeah, same boat. That's the boat has sunk. We're the Titanic. That's
the Browns, the Dolphins. I mean, like there are some teams that have just had some crap. Even the Falcons down in Atlanta.
Well, they're awesome now, though. Well,
are they awesome?
Yeah, they went to the Super Bowl last year.
I don't watch Super Bowl. I don't really watch football. When I talk shit about football, it's all I know. Like, I'm really giving you all I know about football. That's why I quickly changed the subject. Fighting is all I really know in depth.
Well, that's what we're here to actually talk about.
Let's stick to that, man.
We're actually here to talk about fighting, and we get off the subject quite often with that.
No, that's all right, though. I love to have conversations, and people can always join us, man. Hashtag Fight Society, Instagram, Twitter. We're on Facebook. You can find us, like the page. It really says a lot when people reach out, and we can answer your questions and address you guys by the people that listen to the show, because I love to know who is listening to the show and where are you from. So right now, let's just do this. Hashtag Fight Society. Tell us where you're from, where you're listening, and that way I want to get to know some of the listeners a little bit better. I think it's cool.
Yeah. So we got a good show this week. We're going to be talking to the champ, the UFC women's strawweight champ, Joanna Jedrzejczyk, is going to join us, talk about her fight with Rose Namajunas. We're also going to talk to...
I can't believe she's going to leave South Florida, man. She's down at ATT, and she's got that tan going on. I mean, how could she ever leave?
She's not. She loves it.
She can't ever go back home, right?
She loves it.
She looks fantastic. I mean, there is a very distinct tan, and she has it now.
That's South Florida tan?
But you could tell she's been there over a year.
Yeah. So she's on the show. We're also going to talk to, funny enough, one of her teammates, also an American top team, Colby Covington, who fights this weekend in the co-main event against Demian Maia. That's a hell of a good fight. So we got Maia and Covington. We got Brunson and Machida this weekend.
Yeah, that's exciting, man.
Good card.
Let's talk a little bit about the event this past weekend. Just the main event I want to touch on.
Donald Cowboy Cerrone got knocked out by Darren Till. Bit of a shocking upset, if you will.
I believe I picked Till.
Did you?
On the show, yeah. I believe I was singing the praises, or at least predicting that he's a much bigger dude, and that guy was about some stuff.
Yeah.
And, I think what you saw was a guy who did not fear the Muay Thai attack of Donald Cerrone, who was prepared. Once they got into the octagon, you could tell that, Cowboy had an inch on him, supposedly. His stance really...
They looked like they were in two different weight classes.
Oh, they absolutely did, weight-wise.
Huge compared to the Cowboy.
But Donald kind of has that crouch tie stance when he's fighting anyhow, so it would be tough to tell. Because, the tale of the tape or whatever, said that Till was 6 foot, Cerrone 6'1".
Yeah. Cowboy looked way smaller.
Way smaller.
And he didn't have a reach advantage because we kept seeing Till hit him at the end of his punches, and Cowboy would swing and come up short on the chin. It was a really eye-opening performance from Darren Till. And it was also, I'm a big believer in, there's some fighters, just like some football teams or basketball teams or whatever, they play to the level of their competition. And Darren Till admitted this at the post-fight press conference when someone said, you seem to have more, not trouble, but you couldn't put away his last opponent. I can't remember who it was. It was an unranked guy. And he's like, that just didn't excite me. The guy didn't, he didn't excite me, didn't get me up for the fight. And so I just went out there and I fought and I won. It was a dominant performance, but he didn't finish him. And he's like, I got up for Cowboy. I got up. This is a big opportunity, a big moment for me to fight a top 10 guy.
What do you think when people say that shit? I respect the hell out of this Darren Till. I think he's a badass fighter. I like what he brings. I like the shit talking. I like his very direct approach, but when somebody says, "Oh, I didn't get up for whatever,"
See, but I buy into it.
I know, I understand what you're saying. The camp wasn't as serious, or certain things might have been different. He's expressing something that's human, but don't you think that's? I wonder if he would look to correct that. Look at that as sort of a weakness.
I think him admitting it is important because that gives him something to address, something he may want to fix, but also I think it goes to show, when you give a guy like that an opportunity to shine, he shines, he went out there and really proved it, because there are guys on the reverse end of the spectrum who we hear about all the time who are killers in the gym. They are world champion level in the gym, but then they just can't turn it on during a fight.
Mike Pyle.
Mike Pyle is literally the definition, the dictionary definition of that guy.
I heard one guy say he was the greatest fighter ever.
Oh, I've heard numerous fighters who train with him said that in the gym he is the best.
Specifically, after a fight, after somebody beat him, I specifically remember one person saying he was the greatest fighter ever.
Yeah.
Or maybe the greatest episode of Tommy Toehold after Matt Brown beat.
Oh, yes. But
awesome.
But yeah, so when a guy says that, you can think, well, what happens if he doesn't have this kind of fight? Is he going to fall apart? he was undefeated. He still won fights. But I respect that he got up for this fight with Cowboy and he went out there and he put him away in round one. It was Cowboy was never in that fight. Never. He didn't land anything.
I feel like Cowboy wasn't in it, dude. He didn't even cut his hair. You notice that? Like he had some
Yeah.
sloppy haircut, and I know you're going to say Loper. What does that matter? And I'll tell you why I think that matters. What you're thinking about introspectively will resonate outwardly. And I wonder where Cowboy was with that, man. Like he always has like, that he's got a look, you know what I mean? And he's ready for business. He's always got either the shaved hair or he's got something going on. He just looked like, he got off a hunting trip and there he just showed up. You know what I mean? Like there wasn't a lot of like, I thought the look of determination in his face wasn't there as much as I've seen in past fights. Like with the Matt Brown fight, with fights before that. Obviously this is 3 losses for Donald Cerrone.
Do you think, and you and I both know Cowboy a little bit. Do you think leading into this fight, he had, made a big deal about, I don't know who Darren Till is. I couldn't pick him out of a lineup and all that kind of stuff. That do you believe it was the reverse effect for, and this is not making an excuse. I'm just saying, like, do you believe it was kind of the reverse of what Darren Till said when he's like, I got up for this fight. I got more excited for this fight because I finally got a top 10 ranked opponent. Do you think there was anything on the opposite end going on with Cowboy where he just couldn't get up for this fight?
Yeah, maybe. Because, I think there's a lot of like, I beat the crap out of this guy. And what does that say? Who is this guy anyway?
Traveling to Poland?
Yeah, Poland. That's a big trip.
From New Mexico, where he lives.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And, climate-wise, everything, and that's what I'm saying, like with the whole thing about, just down to the haircut, man. Like, was there not time? And listen, a lot of guys will say, F it, that's a stupid thing to even say, and probably is. But I'm just saying, I wonder if fight week was weird and rushed and like, what was going on that week. There's so much that goes into the fight other than just showing up and you're going to fight. Obviously, that
you're saying about the haircut, and I know it sounds kind of funny, and people are going to say that doesn't make a difference, but demeanor on fight week matters. You know what I mean? It's like I've done interviews with fighters on fight week during media day and things like that where I'm just like, there's something off. Like something doesn't seem right.
Right.
And they go out and they have a lackluster performance. And I'm like, then maybe afterwards you find out, they're going through a divorce or their kid was sick.
Oh, if I fight with my wife, I don't care about a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So
you know what I mean? I think
when you say that about the haircut, people are going to laugh and say, what does that matter? But it does. Because those little details about, fight week, the routines of fight week, Cowboy is one of those guys who typically likes to, he shows up on fight week and he's out, wakeboarding on Lake Mead.
Yeah,
and
you can't wakeboard in Poland.
Yeah, so like he was out of his routine. He's fighting a non-top 10 guy. He's off 2 straight losses. People are no longer mentioning Cowboy in the same breath as they were a year ago. Coming off the fight with Matt Brown, where he had the big knockout, and you kind of feel like, man, this is a guy who could, maybe he's going to be a contender at welterweight, and then he gets murked by Jorge Masvidal. Then he loses a kind of a heartbreaking decision to Robbie Lawler. It was a close fight. And then the reward for that of going 3 rounds with one of the hardest hitters in the history of the UFC is main event in Poland against Darren Till.
Right.
I'm just saying, so I don't know. Like I said, it's not my job to make excuses for Cowboy, but Darren Till took him apart like a mechanic.
So what do you think about his personality, the presentation that he brings? It's very Conor-esque. I think most people are going to draw that comparison, but I think it does a lot for Britain. I think it does a lot for, he kind of represents the Portuguese, Brazilian culture a little bit as well.
Well, let's not forget, Michael Bisping, even if he doesn't retire after fighting Georges St-Pierre, he doesn't have that many fights left in him. You know what I mean? Bisping is the face of, British MMA, and the guy's going to retire within the next, 2 or 3 fights at most. I know Mike well
Hardy,
enough. Yeah, but Mike's the champ. Mike's the guy. He was the guy coming off the Ultimate Fighter. He was the face of that deal. And, whereas Bellator has, Paul Daly, they got Michael Venom Page, they've kind of built up a little bit of the hyped up British guys. Now the UFC has one with Darren Till. Very well spoken, very outspoken, and an exciting fighter. And now that win over Cowboy puts him in that conversation to where there's 2 things I think that defines the viability of a fighter building into a star brand with the UFC. And there's 2 ways I think about it. One way, and I saw this on Twitter, and I wish I could give credit to whoever said this, so I don't want to take this away from whoever said it originally, but somebody said, I think it was Chuck Mindenhall, is a friend of mine, you're doing it right when the queue of guys who want to fight you just continues to grow. When you have think about all the guys during Michael Bisping's career who called him out.
Sure, absolutely.
I want to fight Bisping. I want to fight Bisping. I want to beat Bisping. Darren Till has already had that now. You know what I mean? Mike Perry.
Yeah, how about the confrontation after the fight? Mike Perry's so hood anyway.
But Perry's the guy, though. That's the guy. Perry is the guy. Think about all the guys that want to fight Mike Perry right now. You know what I mean? So that he's doing it right. The other way that my little equation to this is that when fans or media or whoever starts matchmaking for you, I know that sounds weird, but when you see a guy win a fight.
Yeah, absolutely. They want to see you fight again.
Oh, man, I want to see Darren Till against Mike Perry. I want to see Darren Till against,
not only do they want to see you fight, but they know who they want to see you fight against.
I think that's an important factor.
Ponzinibbio is going to be a great fight against Mike Perry.
Oh, my God.
And easily saying Mike Perry gets by Ponzinibbio is really stretching it. So
Ponzinibbio is nasty.
So to get to Darren Till, it's interesting. Already Mike Perry is going to have a huge, huge leapfrog situation on his hands where he's got to make sure that he can get through that fight and reasonably unscathed to be able to take the fight with Darren Till in a pretty quick manner, because that fire, those guys aren't that famous. That fire is going to die down.
Mike Perry is one of those guys who's a bit of a brawler and more of an unrefined striker, and that's not an insult. He's just he's a good knockout brawler, and he talks. He's a guy who gets people amped up. Ponzinibbio is very much like a welterweight Edson Barbosa. He doesn't say a lot,
right?
But man, does the guy deliver! You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's what it's so. Before we switch subjects, let me ask you, Loper, where does Cowboy go from here? Does he stay at welterweight? Does he go back to lightweight?
I think Cowboy takes time off. I think he's taking a mandatory 6 months, if I'm not mistaken.
Up to 6 months.
Up to 6 months.
You and I both know that if they want him back sooner, he'll be back sooner.
I hope he does what Matt Brown did. It takes a very, very nice vacation, meaning rest up. You've been in camp all of your adult life. Either way you look at it, we are close. How old is Cowboy now? 34, 35?
Yeah, he's in his mid-30s, yeah.
Yeah, okay, man. And he's had a lot of fights, countless Muay Thai fights. The guy is one of the greatest American fighters.
Well, he's already up there with the most UFC fights of all time. He's only been in the UFC for, since the WEC.
Right, yeah, exactly. Until they rolled it in. Yeah. And the guy and that's what he built his name on. The guy that was always ready to go. You talk about dudes that were household names and ready to say, yeah, I'd love to see that guy fight that guy. Cowboy was always one of those guys. Yep. And I think that Cowboy does what Cowboy wants to do after this, man. I don't think Cowboy's ever going to be one of the guys at the desk.
No.
So I mean, a post UFC career, I think he has endless possibilities, but I think it's going to be different than most fighters because he's a different sort of guy. He's got a ton of personality, but he's not going to be the guy like DC behind a desk doing the analyzing for UFC tonight. I think he's going to be the guy who's in the next Expendables movie.
Yeah.
And, maybe has his own hosting job, but doing a hosting an extreme show somewhere. Kind of what's the dude's name? Rob from Rob and Big,
Rob Dyrdek.
Yeah, something like that. I'm just saying, I think Cowboy has a bright future, and I hope that he seizes the day, man. A hunting show with Cowboy. Who the fuck wouldn't watch that? I would.
Well, that's the thing about, fighting, man, is it's a fickle sport, and as I said, when he beat Matt last December, you're thinking to yourself, this is the guy who's going to run towards the title. I mean, he looked that good. He looked great at welterweight. He looked like a guy reborn at welterweight. Now, 3 fights later, he's on a 3-fight losing streak. We're talking about, does he go to lightweight? Does he stay at welterweight? Where does he go? Needs some time off. He's had 2 knockouts this year, which is, he's only had a couple of knockouts in his entire career. So, yeah, it's a tough question, and you feel for the guy because I know Cowboy likes to fight. He likes to be active, but, sometimes you got to be smart about it. When Matt took the time off to, recover from the knockout and recover from the concussions and just really kind of reevaluate things, you kind of feel like that you hope that there's somebody in Cowboy's life that's telling him, take a break, sit back. You know what I mean?
Take a break, but also deserve time. It's not even hey man, you better take a break. Hey man, you know what? You've done it a lot. You made a lot of money. Hopefully, we've heard him. I don't know how much it's tongue in cheek how he is with his money these days. But it used to be the joke that he would get enough money just to party and have some fun and
until the next payday.
Yeah, do whatever crazy shit he was going to do until the next time he had to fight, and that's why he took so many fights. But hopefully in these last couple of years, he's done the right thing with some cash and he's in the place. But I got a great idea. I'm in a flow state right now. I'm going to give it to you, man. UFC Fight Pass needs things. WWE has it absolutely 100% right with their app, okay? And even if it's not 100% right, they're in the right direction always. They're doing original programming. Why wouldn't I want to watch that fucking cowboy hunting show? And guess who's going to produce it? The goddamn UFC, that's who. And it's going to be on Fight Pass. Who doesn't want to see that, man?
Or you could, they do looking for a fight with Dana White. Cowboy loves
Cowboy hanging out with him would be so fun.
Cowboy also loves to roll around in his RV and do shit. You know what I mean? Just follow that guy in a reality show on the road with Cowboy Cerrone. You know what I mean? Get in that RV.
Yeah,
travel around with him places. You know what I mean? Let him do a reality show.
But there's so many possibilities for other fighters that, these guys are still stars. And UFC Fight Pass is not going to just flourish by picking up different grappling tournaments and Muay Thai fights from around the world. That is going to be awesome. But the other stuff, the more lifestyle-oriented things, I think that are going to draw people to that app and want to join are going to be the people that they already know. The guys that are fighting, that are coming up the ranks, unfortunately, most people don't know until they've already done something significant, like Darren Till. Now he beat Cowboy, but how many people knew him like 2-3 fights ago?
Yeah.
So as people are getting to know the new fighters, wouldn't it be fun to see the old fighters do well and do some other projects still under the UFC umbrella, but not like in the way that they had to get rid of Matt Hughes and the other guys because they felt that those positions weren't really...
They were being paid to be retired, basically.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So anyhow, that's how I feel about that. I think, there's a lot of possibilities and they're going to have to do something with Fight Pass as that new TV deal's coming up.
Yeah.
I think, things are going to get interesting.
I agree. Fight Pass is an asset and you got to continue to build it because if you're not growing, you're dying. There's just no third direction in that kind of thing. So you got to continue to build, add new content, get people, not only get people to tune in, get people to stay. That's the key. It's not just getting new people to buy a subscription to Fight Pass or anything else in this world. It's getting people to stay. It's getting people to committed to where they want to pay $9.99 a month for your service. That's how, Netflix has been so successful. That's how, Hulu, places like that have been successful because they continue to add things that make people want to stay. You can't stay stagnant. You can't stand still and expect people just to stay there. You got to continue to add, make it better, make it flashier, make it prettier, whatever it is.
You got to have some sex.
you got to have something to make people stick around.
Bare breasts.
Vinnie Mac knows. Look at the WWE Network.
I'm a billionaire. Breasts. They win. I mean, come on. Vinnie Mac, Howard Stern.
It's true.
All the bigs, man. All the bigs. Listen, here's what I want to know. What do you guys think about Cowboy? What is his next move? Hashtag Fight Society on social media. Let us know at Damon Martin, at Jeremy Loper. You guys tell us where you stand on that subject. With that being said, the champ is here.
Joanna Jedrzejczyk takes on Rose Namajunas at UFC 217, November 4th, Madison Square Garden. And I got a question for Loper about that card when we come back. So let's talk right now to the champ, Joanna Jedrzejczyk. Hey, Joanna.
Hi, Damon. How are you doing?
I am good. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm on my bike, so it's windy sometimes. So if you sometimes you're not gonna hear me well, but it's okay.
No problem. Well, I appreciate you taking some time to chat with me today, as always.
Yeah. Okay. I love to talk to you. So that's good.
So how is everything? Obviously, training camp is almost wrapped up. I'm sure everything is going well down in Florida.
Yeah, the hard work is almost done. 2.5 weeks before the fight, so I just left the gym. I had other sparring session today. You went here last camp, and I can tell you honestly, this camp I feel totally different. I feel free. You remember I had an injury. Nobody know about that, but this camp, I feel like I fly, And after a year here at American Top Team in Florida, I can say it was really the best decision to move down here and change the gym, the coaches, the people around me, and I feel amazing and I feel ready. And actually, after this morning sparring session, I said to Mikey Brown, Mikey, we are ready, and I love this feeling, and I'm very happy, because like every camp, there are up and downs, there are good and bad days, and I had last week was hard because only 3 weeks before the fight, my body got tired, but after today, I feel like I fly again, and I'm ready, man. I'm ready. I did amazing runs with my sparring partners, and I'm ready. I'm ready.
I can't wait. It's funny you say that because I know you were dealing with a little bit of injury. I was down there in Florida with you the last time. And then you come out and you have that amazing performance against Jessica Andrade. Just a very, very dominant performance. If you're feeling that much...
This is what makes me, Yeah, this is what makes me. And I feel we all must go through some difficulties in our life. But, it's even more difficult when you must, deal with your regular life and your fighting career, It's not easy. Sometimes people think it's like money make you happy, career make you happy, like make you like a hero, but it's not that true. Everyone has something to deal with, and I'm happy because I take this as a lesson, I take every fail in my life as a lesson. This is what makes me stronger. That's why I'm going to be even more successful in this fight with Rose Namajunas than I was before.
Absolutely. Joanna, I remember talking to you in Florida, and then I talked to you after the fight against Jessica, and you immediately said, you wanted to be on this card at Madison Square Garden. You loved it the last time. You wanted to be here again. What is it that is so special about, fighting in New York and wanting to be a part of a card like this?
I like to make history, and last year I fought at Madison Square Garden, and I'm very happy to be back, to be part of the biggest UFC event again this year. And, 6 months ago when I fought Jessica Penne, and I didn't know even who was going to be on the card at Madison Square Garden, but I knew that I want to be part of this show, For me, doesn't matter it didn't matter that time who was going to be on this card, Georges St-Pierre or other person who could headline the show, but I don't care about that. I like to make plans in my life, in my fighting career, in my career, and make it work, So it means a lot. It's a big Polish community in New York State, in New York City, so I'm very happy to fight for them.
Yeah, absolutely. You and I, when we talked the last time, we kind of knew that Rose Namajunas was going to be the opponent. She seemed like the most logical fight. But I want to ask you, what have you thought of her performances, in the UFC, what you've seen or what you've paid attention to as you get ready for this fight?
Like I said so many times, she's very talented. She's still very young fighter, and she's still more experienced, And every opponent show up different with every fighter show up different with other opponents, Like we saw Carlos, just Jessica, a month ago, Jessica Andrade won to Claudia Gadelha. I thought that Claudia Gadelha was going to win, but here we have a surprise. But so, Rose Namajunas is knocking to the door for the belt. She fought Carla Esparza at the tough finale. She fought with Karolina Kowalkiewicz. After this fight, Karolina got the chance to be my next challenger a year ago. So she's walking around this belt. But like I said, still I'm going to be a champion, the strawweight champion. Nobody gonna take this belt from me. So like I said, she's very talented. She's very tricky and sneaky. Her footwork is very good. Her high kick and her ground game is amazing, Like I said, she's very sneaky and tricky. She goes for a triangle and arm bars, and also for the back. She won so many of her fights from the back. So via rear naked choke. So she's definitely dangerous. She's my next challenge, and I don't care what people are saying. If she's like the right challenger or not, if she needs more fights or not. But I think she's that one, I beat all of the strawweights from the top to the bottom of the number 8 or 10, and that's the thing, She's next in line, and I make sure I always make sure I'm ready for everything and anything, but
Yeah.
they are not.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because everyone's going to ask you about, Rose's submissions and how she goes for these kind of flashy finishes and things like that. But at the end of the day, isn't it more about what you do? I mean, no one has been able to figure you out. No one has been able to find a way to beat you. I mean, we can talk about all the things, but that's the thing. No one has figured out a way to beat you.
Of course, like everyone before the fight, like, you know how many comments and messages I'm receiving, like, hey, Rose is going to submit you, Rose is going to beat you up. I was like, you know what? Text to me or send me a message or comment under my victory picture after my fight, and we will see who was right, Anything can happen in the fight. I'll always say that, one punch, one submission, one bling can finish the fight, but I always make sure I'm ready, I always make sure I'm ready, and I don't watch so many fights, and I always focus on what I can do better, how I can, honestly escape from them, because I know they are coming for my best, for my goals, my dreams. This is my life, so I must make sure I will surprise them. I don't wait how they gonna surprise me. I always surprise them, and believe me, I will surprise them in this fight. Because, like I said, this camp was amazing. We changed a few things again. Mikey Brown, Katel Kubis, and amazing coaches. It's a pleasure to work with them. And, I will make it happen, I will make it happen. And people can say whatever they want to say, but I know I'm going to be a champion, and you are going to hear and still.
Yeah. You and I talked in the past about...
And another thing, like, I work with Cezary Matuda, multiple BJJ world champion medalist. I work with Valerie Letourneau. I work with other girls. I spar with the guys, and of course, you don't see me fighting on the ground very often during the fight, but you know that my game is strong, and they cannot figure out the way to beat me. Yeah. First of all, if she will want to submit me, she must cut the distance. She must take me down and then try to do something on the ground. But people never gonna understand my phenomenon. You know what I mean about? They not gonna understand my legacy. Because they don't see my dedication and hard work in the gym every day. I'm so far away from my country, my homeland, from my parents, my family and friends, and they don't understand how this pain, staying far away from my family, makes me stronger,
Yeah.
That's why they cannot deal with me in the octagon, because I make my dreams and goals come true. And when I feel fucked up, when I feel tired, I think of my dreams and goals. And my dream and goal is to be undefeated. My dream right now is to tie Ronda Rousey's record, break the record of 7 title fights in the UFC for female fighters, retire as undefeated in the future, and go for the second belt.
Yeah. Well, that kind of leads me to my next question, Joanna. You and I talked about making history, and I know how much you respect and love Ronda Rousey for what she does, what she has done for the sport. But, you tie the record here. You have a chance to, obviously break the record next year. How important is that record to your legacy to kind of hold that mark as the longest reigning champion in the women's division?
At the end, it is about the records, but it's all about my personal records, I break records every day. I break limits every day. I break barriers every day. My private and my fighting barriers, because it's not easy, If you want to stay a champion, you cannot, have only this hype, There is a time to do media, to be on the covers of magazines, join the TV. But when there is a time for hard work, you must be like a butcher and work your ass, There is no time for makeup and covers and photo shoots. There is only time for being beat up every day. But this is what I like, and that's why I'm the champion, and that's the thing. People, when they reach top, they cannot be focused. They are not humble enough. Even when people are saying that I'm not humble or bully at the wings, I don't care about that. I know my value. I know my legacy. And it's going to be amazing to tie the record, break the record, go for the other belt maybe next year. But it's all about my personal limits, which I break every day. Because I realize that we have only one life on the earth. I believe in the second life, in heaven. I'm a very religious person, but that's the thing. You know, we sometimes focus too much on making careers, making money, but at the end, we're going to leave it everything here. So better make your dreams come true and be good to people, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious, Joanna, you know, we talked before about, you know, the possibility of you exploring, you know, the flyweight division. And I know you mentioned numerous times to me that after you started working with Perfecting Athletes, you know, your cut down to strawweight was so much easier than it ever was before. So kind of a two-part question, you know, as you get closer to breaking this all-time record for, you know, title defenses, you know, at this point, if you win this fight, you know, you're still only a few behind the all-time record, of course, which Demetrius Johnson just set. But then also you have the, you know, potential of, you know, creating a new legacy by going for a second world title, you know, in the flyweight division. I mean, which one would mean more to you, or is it possible you could do both?
It might happen, you know. There are some people who thinking that I haven't done enough yet, but I think I have done a lot in this sport, you know, 6 title defenses. The thing is, I will see, you know, it's very hard to stay far away from my family, and in the future I want to be a mom. I want to get married and I want to be a mom, and it's difficult to say stop when you are successful in the business or in fighting or, and now it's time for being an artist, you know, but I'm 100% into everything what I do in my life. So I don't know, there probably will be a day that I will say, enough is enough, and I will just focus on my private life. But I don't know when. I don't know yet when. But definitely, the flyweight division is something. I don't know. I still not think about, but definitely, if I'm gonna move up, it's going to be the biggest challenge in my fighting career. But I will see.
Yeah. Is that, you know, when you talk about your legacy and making history, I mean, is that ultimately what it comes down to, the toughest challenges? I mean, you know, I think you could, you know, obviously you've cleared out a lot of the great strawweights, and that's a credit to what you've been able to do. When you look at what Jessica Andrade just did in her last fight, what Claudia Gadelha has done, you know, you have 2 wins over her. Obviously, you have the win over Carolina. I mean, you have beaten the best of the best in this division.
Of course, and people are saying, hey, this one is coming for your belt, like Carolina. Who the fuck is Carolina? I beat her up. She had like 10 seconds of hype in our fight, and people only remember that. They don't remember how I beat her up. And like Jessica is coming for you, and they don't realize that I just beat her 6 months ago. And like, oh, why you didn't watch the fight? You should watch it and be focused, be humble, and watch the fight. I don't have to watch the fight. They must watch me because they want to come for my belt. They want to come for me, but they don't know how to figure out. They can fucking bring the best coaches from I don't know where, from Sri Lanka or Thailand or New Zealand. They're not going to figure out the way because there is something about me. I'm blessed and I'm talented and I'm a hard worker. And they don't have this. They can be talented, but they are not the hard workers. They can be hard workers, but they are not talented. They don't have this dedication which I have, and I believe in myself so badly, and they can say whatever they want, but I'm going to clear this division after this fight, and this is what's going to happen, and they can say whatever they want.
Yeah. So really, you know, it ultimately comes down to your decision. You can do whatever you feel like. You can stay at strawweight. You can go up and try to conquer flyweight. I mean, the decision's all yours.
But even if I flyweight next year, if I will move flyweight next year, for sure I will defend the title, defend my strawweight belt. Even after I will become a strawweight champion.
Yeah, absolutely. And you like to stay busy, and I know that you know, this is your second title defense this year, so you know, I'm sure 2018 will be just as busy for Joanna Champion.
Of course. I want to stay busy. I used to fight every month when I was competing in Muay Thai. So being a UFC champion, like, there's so many fighters like that are saying like, oh, I can come to the UFC, beat Joanna or beat other champions. They joining the UFC and they losing first fight. It's special league. It's the best MMA league in the world. We are on different level, you know, and that's the thing. So it's not easy. So now, for me, fighting 2 times a year, it's totally enough, and I'm enjoying this process. And like I said, I have my family in Poland. I must stay after every fight little bit in Poland. I approach I don't like to say that, but I'm approaching the star status in Poland right now, and I really like it. This is what I've been working for last 14 years, but it's difficult. I spend lots of time on doing media, sponsorship obligations. Don't have time for my family that much. I'm happy that they're very supportive, but it's my time. I give as much, but I want to get as much. The thing is, I'm by myself. I don't have a management company. I have an agent, Brad Slater. He's doing an amazing job with all the mainstream media, the movie industry. We're working on two sponsorship. But I'm very happy. I just signed a new contract with the UFC. It's going to be my ninth fight in the UFC, and it's my, let me count, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's going to be my 5th contract in the UFC. This is how you take the right fruit after you work hard, you know. Hard work pays off, and that's the thing.
Yeah, and I know you've always said it's not, necessarily about the money, but I'm assuming you're happy with your new contract.
Yes, and the other thing that's about legacy is people think that I'm thinking that I'm like, that there is no way to beat me. There is a way to beat everyone. But the thing is, how strong you believe in yourself, and how dedicated you are, and how passionate you are about, and how serious you are about. Because it's not only about the work in the gym. It's not only about the fight. It's all about what you do after the training, how you eat, how you sleep, how you relax, who you work with, how you treat your body, how you feel your body, feel your body. And that's the thing. And it's like only part of my life. Like, I don't know, maybe I will fight for a year longer, 2, maybe 5 years longer. I don't know. It's only part of my life. It's story of my life. And after that, will be time for other story in my life. And that's the thing. And people think that, of course, it's everything what I have right now, because it's my life. Sport is in my blood. But I'm not going to cry when I'm going to stop fighting, I'm not going to cry if something, or probably I will cry when I will lose, but I want to make sure it's not going to happen, But after that, there's time for something else. And yeah, what's the question about the contract?
Yeah, I was just saying, I'm assuming you're happy with your contract.
I'm happy with my contract. I did that. I'm very happy that Dan Lambert, who is the owner of ATT, he's helping all of the fighters, for free. And it's amazing, like the gym is amazing, the people are amazing, the coaches, the atmosphere. I used to fight Valerie Letourneau, and now we are really good buddies. We're helping each other. She's going to fight very, very soon in Bellator. I feel sorry for her that she moved to Bellator, because now if she opened the flyweight division, she could be a champion in this division, And I'm very happy that we fought each other, but now we are good teammates, and we help each other. Today I was sparring with her. She's very helpful, and that's the thing. We are like one big family. Yeah. And this is what I like about. And I'm very happy with my contract. And like people can say, "Oh, Joanna is on big shows," but I never complain. I was there when they needed me. I did my first title defense in Berlin. 5 weeks. It was short notice fight. Only 5 weeks before the fight. Some other people could say, "Hey, I don't want to lose my belt." I will not do that. But I'm serious, man. When I feel I can do this, I will say it, and I will do this. I don't believe in bullshit, and that's the thing. And when they call me to fight at the UFC 193 6 weeks before, press conference in Las Vegas, press conference in Australia. That time I used to live in Poland. I had broken hand after my first title defense with Jessica Penner. That's the thing. I did my job to get the respect. You earn respect. You don't buy respect. You earn respect. And this is like, I'm happy that I have this good relationship with Dana White, but we trust to each other. They know I always put on great performance. They always know I always put on great media work before the fight, after the fight. I put on great fights. Like, so many fighters, they don't give a fuck about the media. We must let people know who we are, what we do, and why we're enjoying this. They cannot complain after that they don't make money or they don't put them on big shows. Because if you don't want to like, talk about yourself, about preparations and other stuff. So don't complain that you don't make money. And first of all, work hard, put on great fights, then ask for the money. And for sure they're going to get to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know you
and I remember my debut. It's going to be my 9th fight. It's like nothing because they are like veterans, fighting, still living legends with so many fights. But actually, 9 fights is a nice balance in the UFC, And the other thing is, I feel like every fight is my debut fight for the UFC. Like, every fight is a title fight. Like, I'm the challenger. That's why I go there and shine. Because I want to, prove them wrong for saying all the shit. But also, I want to show to them who I am. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, I know the hard work you put in. I've seen it firsthand. I love what you do down at American Top Team, and I think that's a fantastic team that's not only going to be there for you, but they're only going to continue to make you better. And I cannot wait for November 4th. This fight with Rose Namajunas is an amazing fight. And Joanna, I can always say thank you for the time. You always give me so much time. I really appreciate it. And safe training, safe travels to New York, and thank you as always for the time.
So much.
I really do appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Take care.
All right, talk to you soon.
Looking forward to see you. Bye-bye.
Right, bye-bye.
Awesome conversation, man. So what is your question?
So, UFC 217, obviously we're sitting less than 2 weeks away now. Joe Rogan on his podcast over the weekend, Fight Companion.
Yeah.
Had our friend Brendan Schaub on the show.
Okay.
Who's coming to Columbus, by the way.
Yeah, he is.
Coming to Columbus. Talked to him yesterday. Coming to Columbus. And on the podcast, Joe Rogan made a comment. He said, I hear that ticket sales are not doing too well for UFC 217. So I looked it up. Put up a little graphic on my Twitter yesterday. If you go to my Twitter feed, @Damon Martin, you can see it. It's not bad, but 2 weeks out from the event, Georges St-Pierre's return felt like an ATM. You're just going to start cashing the money. And there are quite a few tickets left. So, my question, Loper.
So, you're talking about the live show?
Yeah, the attendance.
Okay.
How concerned should the UFC be, or we be, or however you want to phrase it, that maybe GSP's return isn't what they expected?
I think that's very possible, and I'll tell you why. I think it's been a long time. I think they're underestimating the changeover of the fan base. The people that actually remember George. I think the fan base has grown in the UFC, and with the addition of more people to the crowd, so to speak, it's not that any of the old school people left. It's just that there's so many new people that are watching the sport that don't know Georges St-Pierre as an active roster fighter. So they're not used to seeing him fight. So it's not as big of a deal. They don't know the legend of the unbeaten welterweight champion of the world that all the hardcores do. I mean, on the underground, people can't wait. It's kind of a weird fight. We talked about Darren Till looking a weight class above Cowboy Cerrone. Wait till you see Michael Bisping and Georges St-Pierre in the ring together and the octagon together. I mean, I think people are going to be – I think you might be surprised.
Here's my thing. And you bring up a good point about, times changing and people changing. People don't like it when we compare UFC to WWE, but the best comparison I can have to this whole thing with Georges St-Pierre coming back and my questioning his popularity in 2017 versus 2013 is WWE switching over from the old school, character, kind of cartoon character, Papa Shango and Tatanka and all these characters.
Oh, don't talk shit about Tatanka, man.
To the Attitude Era. When you get to the Stone Cold Steve Austin.
The real people.
The Rock, when you get to that era of wrestling and then you go back and you look at Coco Beware and the characters, the cartoon characters, how they had to switch because those characters, during the Attitude Era, which is, in my opinion, the best era of WWE in history, when you compare that era to the previous era where, where those were the characters, even Hulk Hogan to a certain extent was a character, this over the top American, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, blah, blah, blah guy. Compared to Stone Cold Steve Austin saying, Austin 316 says, I just whooped your ass. Such a different dynamic of that era to what was before that. And when you compare the two, you think about a character like Coco Beware. I'm picking on Coco Beware. I have no idea why I'm picking his name.
Yeah, the Brooklyn Brawler.
Yeah, someone.
Pick somebody,
but
right.
you picked them and you put them in the Attitude Era. They didn't fit. No, totally. It didn't make sense.
They
They weren't popular. They looked goofy. Georges St-Pierre in 2013 was the best fighter in the world. He had an entire country behind him in Canada who would live, breathe, and die by what Georges St-Pierre did in 2013. He came out that big fight with Nick Diaz, the rivalry fight. Johnny Hendricks looked like the next great contender, had a really close fight with him, whatever. He was at the peak of popularity that kind of did at that moment. 4 years later, Conor McGregor is the biggest star in the sport, by far. Conor is the anti-Georges St-Pierre. He's exciting. He's a knockout artist, and he talks trash like nobody's business. Mental warfare is on another level with
disrespectful
Conor.
Before the fight to a different level.
Then you got Ronda Rousey, and I know Ronda's pretty much gone, but during that 4-year span the GSP's been gone, Ronda has been the other one. Dominant performances, just decimates people. There's 30-second knockouts, 30-second submissions. And Ronda wasn't as good on the mic as Conor, but when Ronda spoke, you listened. She always said something.
But the legend of Ronda Rousey was so huge in the finishing of fights.
Yeah, I mean, armbar, yeah.
The stain on GSP's legacy always, as you're, finishing your thought there, was that he didn't finish fights. He was unbeaten, a respectful guy, but the not finishing fights thing was always a criticism.
Absolutely. So you have this era now where you've got the biggest star in the sport is a trash talker who is a knockout artist on the feet. Very exciting guy. Conor has never had a boring fight that I can remember in the UFC. Maybe you could argue and say his most boring fight was the Max Holloway fight when he ended up going for takedowns because Max had a hurt ankle and he had a hurt knee, but it was still a fun fight. You know what I mean? So you got that guy as the star now, the guy who just you hang on every word that guy says. Every word. He puts out a tweet with a picture of him in the GTA, in the Grand Theft Auto, with just Tony. And we assume he's acknowledging Tony Ferguson. People lose their minds. That's the power Conor has. GSP, in today's UFC, in today's mixed martial arts, might be the Coco Beware in the Attitude Era in WWE.
Doing a bird.
I'm just saying, I think there's a little bit of that in. Am I wrong?
That's interesting you say that. I would liken him to Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, but yeah, I think you're right. If Ricky the Dragon Steamboat came out and the NWO was in the ring, and you mentioned, yellow and red Hulk Hogan, but if Black Hollywood Hogan was in the ring, and Ricky Steamboat came strutting out, you're right. It would look goofy.
Well, it's like the crossover in that
era. It's
not
just the gi.
It's like the crossover from Big Daddy Cool Diesel and Razor Ramon to, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash being the outsiders. And you know what I mean?
I'll meet you in the middle with something that people are like, what about wrestling? So in the business that I'm in radio, right at the same time, there were shows like mine that were emerging. And now, in this market, my show, I believe, stands out because there were shows like Howard Stern and Opie and Anthony and other guys that came out and were just themselves on the radio. They weren't these goofy, hey, everybody, good morning, everybody, 17 after the hour, everybody. This weird, goofy
character.
But it was an impression of who they thought they had to be on radio. And so it's very much the same thing as you're saying.
Yeah.
Once you cut that shit out, that's the real. So then people know what's up. They know if they like you, they don't like you. We're just having conversations, or we trying to put a big dress on this thing and, not call it a pig when it's really a pig in a dress. So I don't know.
We talked about it last week.
I think Georges St-Pierre is going to have a hard time, going into this fight to be the absolute draw gate pay-per-view combine that he was. It may take it, and if he loses, wow, what's that going to do?
Well, Joe Rogan said yesterday, he's like, I think GSP's return will do, 500,000 buys regardless. It'll do around, at least 500,000 buys. And I thought, by today's standards, that's a lot of pay-per-view buys. It would be the second biggest pay-per-view in 2017 behind Jones Cormier. Do you know the last time Georges St-Pierre had a pay-per-view less than 500,000 buys?
When was
Was his first fight with Matt Serra in 2007.
Because everybody expected him to smoke Serra.
Everyone expected him just to destroy Serra. It was like 400 and
God, I forgot about that. Oh, I love Matt Serra.
Like 400,000 buys because everyone assumed GSP was just going to walk through this guy.
How great is Matt Serra? Oh,
so
he's so
good.
good.
So good. But think about that.
No, you're 100% right.
500,000 buys sounds like a lot, but for GSP in 2017, as big as a star as he's supposed to be, as big of a draw as he is supposed to be coming back, 500,000 buys is a loss. I'm sorry. It is. And we talked about this on the show last week, and Loper, you know this better than anybody because you're in radio. I'm not trying to play the glasses half empty guy. I'm just being honest that our tastes have changed because 5 years ago, everyone was, I did it all for the nookie.
Yep.
The nookie.
Right.
And now no one in rock music, they've disowned Limp Bizkit. Completely.
Yeah, they're the new Poison.
Yes.
Before Poison came around and they were like ironic.
So Georges St-Pierre may not be the draw that now. Could he eventually be again? Could he draw back in the fan? Because you have to remember.
Yeah, but you have to win. You have to win and reestablish yourself as a champion.
You also have to remember what the UFC did after he left. They pretty much abandoned Canada. I mean, they've done shows in Canada.
Yeah, right. Because they tried it with Rory. And Rory didn't really break the top three, so there was no champion in Canada, which made it harder for him to headline shows.
And then and I had this conversation with Patrick Cote last year, how like all the big Canadian promotions, like the regional promotions kind of faded away. Like Maximum Fighting Championships went away, TKO, and they have some again now.
You can't be doing all that, man.
But like all the regional promotions that were, stars were built and then made it to the UFC kind of went away. So Canadian MMA was struggling. The UFC pretty much abandoned Canada in terms of building Canadian stars and really devoting time to Canada. They kind of abandoned Canada.
Lack of training areas. And so that's, like you're saying, fighters are going to leave and they're going to go train other places. So it really fucks up the culture a little bit,
You just wonder, because the casual audience now, and it's something that Rogan mentioned, and we talked about it at length last week as well, is that the casual audience now is different than the casual audience in 2013. And it's just I'm not trying to shit on his return. I'm just saying, like, when you talk about ticket sales, because
this is New York City too, so I mean, you're talking about people can travel, so they can go to New York, they can have the weekend, they can see the fights, go get in Thursday night, go Friday, see whatever you're going to see, have the best food in the world. You can walk to anything that's amazing.
And the other problem they're having with this card was the fight that I think is going to sell this card the most, the best fight on the card, in my opinion, is Cody Garbrandt against TJ Dillashaw.
Well, that's the real fighters
skill
fight.
Versus skill, rivalry.
Prime versus prime.
But they've put so much into GSP. They've made a website. Did you see this? GSPreturns.com. UFC made a website.
Well, they want it to be that, They want it to be the return of the dragon.
He's the investment. He's the guy who's making the millions.
How much is George going to make on this fight? Is it even public yet?
No, they won't make it public because it's in New York. They don't release the salary, but I would assume based on what, Conor made, what Ronda made, I would assume he's making at least $2 million up front.
Okay, so based on what they made, so you're saying what was the last figure that Ronda made?
Like Ronda made $2 million, I think, for her last fight against Amanda Nunes. I think on paper, and I think
just for the fight,
right? And then Conor against Nate Diaz made $3 million, which is the last disclosed payday we know about because he fought in New York, but again, they don't release the figures. So I would assume at least $2 million. So they got a lot invested. I get it. They got a lot invested in GSP's
New
return.
York's not. It's weird. So upstate New York is, but I don't know. New York City's not that far from Canada.
No,
I mean Montreal's.
Well, who doesn't want to go to New York City? It's awesome. Well, it's a great trip.
Montreal's arguably amazing too. But Toronto. I mean, how far is Montreal from New York?
It's an hour flight.
Driving, it's super close flying.
Yeah.
But driving 8 hours,
8 or 9 hours,
probably at the most. Because when I was in Albany, I would blow, being from South Florida, seeing signs for Montreal, I was like, oh my god, it's so crazy. Where am I? Iceland? This is insane.
Yeah. But it's just a weird. But and I think that if they put a little bit more promotion into Cody and TJ, you would pick up more of that casual audience because I think, and I truly do believe this, that Cody Garbrandt has the chance to be the next guy, the next star.
Fuck yeah. If Cody can keep everything in check, man, Cody's a wild dude. I love that kid, man. I think he is an amazing talent. And there was a lot, speaking of Joe, not to keep bringing him up, but the interview that he did with Uriah and Cody Garbrandt was so telling. It was amazing because how comfortable those guys were in that atmosphere, that they just were absolutely dropping truth bombs all over the place about things that we didn't know about, and makes this fight so much more interesting.
Like this is the, as you said, it's the real fighter's fight.
I mean, TJ Dillashaw in that camp for so many years. I mean, literally teammates with these guys, like cornering Cody in multiple fights. So, I mean, this is really, for me, and like you said, I think most people, the GSP Michael Bisping fight, no disrespect to either one of those legends, that's icing on the cake of a terrific card.
Yeah, it really is. But in the day and age we live in, the difference of this day and age is as great as everything else is on the card. It always comes down to the main event.
So let me ask you this. So so let's suppose, all right, let's say this. TJ comes out and let's just say he gets the win. Okay. In a fashion that is a decision.
Okay.
All right. 5 rounds decision. He's the new champion. Does Cody get an immediate rematch? No. Yes or no?
Depends on how the fight plays out.
I said no before I said yes. That was so weird.
Depends on how the fight plays out, but it's possible. I mean, you got Dominic Cruz fighting Jimmy Rivera in December, and I think it depends on how that fight plays out, because if Dominic Cruz beats Jimmy Rivera convincingly, and you got TJ as champion, a guy he beat, you know what I mean? Then you put those back together. So I think more has to play out, you know what I mean? But I personally think Cody's going to win the fight with TJ. So.
I know, but here, okay, so I was going to give you another scenario. So, but if TJ finished him.
Yeah. Then you're definitely not getting it.
Definitely not, right?
Right.
Okay, so Cody comes out.
Yeah.
And gets the decision victory. Do you think TJ has the rightful, like, if it's a close fight, to say, like, keep me in the conference? Does he have to fight Dominic Cruz?
He's going to have to fight somebody else.
Because wouldn't that be the sickest fight ever? Dominic Cruz, TJ Dillashaw, not for the championship. Nope, not today, guys.
Yeah.
Winner gets the champion from Ohio.
It'd be interesting. But that's and it's like I said, it's absolutely nothing against Bisping and GSP. But on paper and fight, because we all romanticize GSP, what he is for the sport, and what I think he is for the sport in terms of his legacy. I think GSP, and I'll say this right now, is the greatest of all time, because the welterweight division has always been a snake pit. So deep and so tough. Add to that, GSP did it the right way. He didn't cheat. Now,
we don't know that.
Yeah, we can throw allegations all day.
I'm not going to throw allegations at GSP, but I'm just saying we don't know that.
We don't know
a lot of things.
Well, yeah, but we're saying he's never tested positive.
Right.
And he was a 9-time defending champion when he walked away. You know what I mean? He didn't lose. He walked away as a 9-time defending champion. If he had stayed champion and was motivated, who knows where he'd be right. I mean, yeah, there's always a chance of an upset, but I'm saying, like, hypothetically, he could be at 15 or 20 title defenses by now. 9 title defenses, beat everybody. Beat Hughes when Hughes was still, in his prime. He avenged the only other loss he ever had to Matt Serra. He went through that killer's murderer's row at welterweight and beat everybody.
Koscheck,
Thiago Alves when he was on top of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, he went through everybody.
Nah, wait, he didn't fight Patrick Cote.
No.
Anderson Silva.
And yeah, he never fought Silva, but yeah, Cote fought Silva.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Went through everybody, and as I said, at least, again, I know I'm not trying to cast aspersions on GSP, but he did it the right way in terms of he never tested positive, and that's why there's going to be an asterisk next to Anderson Silva, and there's going to be an asterisk next to John Jones.
Not Anderson Silva.
Yeah,
no,
but sorry.
It wasn't real. No.
Yeah.
You can't.
You can.
I don't want it to happen.
You get an asterisk next to your name when you get busted for steroids. I'm sorry.
I feel like you're talking to me, and I'm like, listen, man.
Ask Matt Brown what he thinks about Anderson Silva's.
He gets angry a little bit, you know, and he loves Anderson Silva.
So anyways, that's where I put GSP. He is in that hierarchy of the greatest of all time. But the problem is his style wasn't the most exciting in the world. He didn't have that, you know, when you watched him fight, you weren't thinking, man, what are we about to witness? We're going to see something special here.
But at the end, he's about to take that guy down and lay on him for a hot second.
So,
you know what I mean? Like that was the
saying.
problem at the end.
I don't have like him and Bisping, you know, like I'll tell you right now, we'll break down the fight card next week because obviously we're going to be in a fight week. But you know, I think Bisping has the edge on GSP in a lot of ways in this fight. But because if Bisping wins, I see the fight playing out one way. If GSP wins the fight, I see it playing out one way. Takedown, ground control, repeat. I'm still in my boy Paul Heyman's line.
Yeah, we'll see, man.
Takedown, ground control, repeat. Takedown, ground control, repeat. That's what I see.
Big enough.
But
I mean, what do you think about him with his shirt off? Like all these criticisms. Like seriously, like GSP. I mean, like, do you think that was a while ago?
Probably.
I think so too. I think people are gonna run with that narrative and they're gonna be surprised.
Yeah, he's gonna be big. And the thing is, he's
gonna be big. I love it. Damon loves GSP so much. He's gonna be huge, guys.
It's gonna be huge. But my question, but with the anticipation for that fight, I don't have as many questions about that fight. But I am so excited to see Cody and TJ. And I'm legit excited to see Joanna and Rose Namajunas. Wonder Boy and Jorge Masvidal.
Yeah, come on, man. That's a fantastic
you know
fight.
What I mean?
To find out who the true number 2 contender, number 1 contender, you know, depending on how that shakes out, will be. Because that is a real fight, man. And both of those guys, isn't it a weird situation that Wonder Boy would be left in with a loss? Jorge Masvidal just pump the effing brakes, dude. But see, there's some fights for him. Robbie Lawler, there's other fights that would make sense. But with Wonder Boy, you really got to wonder, no pun intended, where he would go. So I think, you know, next week we can get into that as well.
Yeah. So there's a lot of storylines that are great for this card, but the main event doesn't necessarily have that. And
it feels like bizarrely thrown together, right?
At the end of the day, the main event is what sells the card.
And that's what the focus is going to be on. All right, question real quick before we change the subject. Mark Hunt brought up something earlier this week, talking to reporters, and it happened to mention that he thinks it's insane that the UFC is letting GSP fight after GSP said that he was visited by aliens. He thinks this is a clear evidence of CTE damage that Georges St-Pierre has taken over the years. What do you say?
I like Mark Hunt very much, but he's out of his mind.
So you think Georges St-Pierre saw some aliens or what?
Listen, I don't want to get into religious debate here because this is going to turn off a lot of listeners.
Oh,
but
what? We're going religion?
I'm going religion. If we can believe that a deity was crucified and resurrected 3 days later, we can believe in that, but we can't believe that there is a possibility of aliens. I'm not saying George actually saw aliens. I'm just saying the possibility exists.
Right, but
that he believes he saw something.
For a championship level fighter to say something like that in public was interesting after he said he took a lot of shots to the head. That's, you know, I'm just trying to describe what Mark Hunt was saying.
No, I know. And I'm not trying to mock what Mark Hunt is saying, but Mark Hunt is salty right now because he got pulled out of a fight because he said, I'm dealing with loss of memory and double vision and all this other crazy stuff he said, and they pulled him for a fight from it. It's the same thing that happened to Cain Velasquez last year when he said, my neck is jacked up and I'm about to go have surgery as soon as the fight is over. And they're thinking, okay, now hold on. If your neck is so jacked up that you have to have surgery the minute the fight is over, you probably shouldn't be fighting. If you're Mark Hunt and you're having memory loss and slurred speech and all this other stuff, you may not want to be fighting. So he's kind of turning it back on Georges St-Pierre, saying he shouldn't be fighting because he said he saw aliens. I think it's hilarious.
I mean, why can't a guy just see some aliens?
I want to believe.
I'm a guy like everybody else. I just want to see some aliens. Why does George get to see all the aliens?
How awesome would it be if he walked out to this at UFC 217, the X-Files theme? David Duchovny walked him out.
I don't know, guys. They told me to come out to this theme. I can't do Georges St-Pierre.
I don't know what
turns into Arnold Schwarzenegger. Most people that listen to the show will go, Loper, you can't do any impressions. And I'll say, well, whatever.
What accent was that? Something, I'm good to go.
It was kind of Canadian, but not really.
I am not impressed by your performance.
That's good. I don't know. I can't do that.
I don't know what accent that was.
What if it was your job to whistle this song? All day next to George. You think George has got that kind of money?
Probably.
Like buy a whistler money?
Probably.
We're going to stop this conversation right now.
We got another guest to get to.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's answer the phone, everybody. Who's on the other side of that door? Well, hi. Remember those like old TV shows? Like you kind of loved it though. People would just randomly show up. Ding dong. Like
who's at the door?
Like the ding dong and very fast knock.
Yeah.
Like, man, you are aggressive trying to get in this door right now.
You really want in this door.
You want to get on this show very badly. So who is on this show next?
We're going to talk to Colby Covington, obviously one of the more vocal fighters in the welterweight division. He takes on Demian Maia this Saturday night in Brazil. So let's talk to Colby Covington. One of my favorite guys to talk to, and he's back in action, going down into enemy territory in Brazil, because I know he loves stepping into enemy territory. Nothing feels better than beating the guy in his home soil. Welcome back to the show today, Colby Covington. Colby, welcome back, man. How's everything?
Hey, man, everything's going great. Thanks for having me back on, Damon.
Of course. So you love that enemy territory, right? Nothing better than beating the guy in his hometown, right?
Oh, what more can you ask for? To completely silence a crowd, a hostile, booing crowd. I mean, it's a dream come true for me. I love that role.
I know, I love it. So last time we talked, of course, it was before this fight got announced, and I know you told me this is the fight you were gunning for. You wanted to retire Demian Maia, give him one more fight before he ended his career. How excited were you that you got exactly what you asked for?
Yeah, man, it's just so coincidence that Halloween is two days after our fight. So Maia's retirement party is going to be officially labeled as the Nightmare in Sao Paulo.
I love it. You've kind of become the master of kind of calling your shot and getting the guys you want. Why is it that you think you're able to do it? So many guys do this and they don't get the fights they want, but you seem to be able to call your shots.
Because what I say, I mean it, and I've completely dismantled every opponent put in front of me. So the UFC believes in me. A lot of these guys that call their shots, they can't back up their shots. I can back my shots up. So I think the UFC sees my worth, and that I am the future of this division. I own this division now.
Yeah. What does it say, if you go down to Brazil and you beat a guy like Demian Maia in his home country? I mean, let's be honest, that could be a tough spot for people, and it's not easy. But I mean, what is that? Is that? Do you feel like that's even a bigger win if you can go down there and beat him in Brazil?
Absolutely. I feel like that's the biggest win out there in the division. What's a bigger win than beating the guy that had the direct last fight for the title, and not only doing that, going into his home city in a hostile environment where he's going to be the best he's probably ever been, training harder than he's ever trained. And, the judges aren't going to be on my side anyways, but it's not going to make a difference because, I'm going to lay him to rest in the first round.
What did you think of Maia's fight with Tyron Woodley?
I thought it was the most boring welterweight title fight in the history of the UFC. I thought it was a disgrace to our division, and that's why I'm here now, to bring excitement back to this division.
Did you, there's a lot of people who said that, we shouldn't have criticized that fight because, Tyron fought a smart fight. And I think to a point, I guess you can say that. But I said, listen, there's also a place for criticism. You can say that, you want to be smart and not go to the ground with Demian Maia. I totally agree with that. But, then at some point, when do you go out and kind of aggressively go after him and get it finished? So I said, I think both sides of the argument are fair. But obviously you kind of fall on one side of the argument. You think the criticism of that fight is absolutely warranted.
Yeah, I definitely think the criticism was warranted. Woodley took his gas off the pedal, and that has to do with his biggest weakness is his gas tank. He has no cardio in the tank, and that's why when I fight Tyron Woodley, I'm going to expose him, and I'm going to make him retire. I'm going to put him in that box booth for good. So I think the criticism was warranted. He had a hurt, dangered, and he had a guy hurt. Demian Maia, the guy was done. He was ready to give up, but he took his foot off the pedal because he doesn't have any gas in the tank. So, I think the criticism is warranted. You got to keep a it's a show business. You got to go out there and you got to finish a guy when you have a guy hurt.
Yeah. Now, in your background, of course, everyone knows you come from an All-American wrestling background. You know, you're a tremendous ground guy yourself, but you worked on your striking. We saw that in the Dong Hyun Kim fight. So you've got punching power, you've got knockout power, but we know you're a wrestler. We know Demian Maia, of course, likes to do jiu-jitsu. That's what he does best. And he's never made it a secret, I guess we should say, of what he tries to go out there and do. So I guess the best question is, if this fight hits the ground, how comfortable are you with a ground battle against Demian Maia?
I'm very comfortable if it hits the ground. I could beat him in a straight-up grappling match. I could beat him in a boxing match, and I'm going to completely dismantle him and lay him to rest in an MMA match. It's not even a competitive fight, man. I'm on a different level than him right now. He's about to find that out October 28th.
Yeah. You know, American Top Team's a huge team down there. One of your teammates, of course, Jorge Masvidal, just fought him earlier this year, of course. Did you talk to Jorge? Were you working with Jorge at all going into this fight?
Yeah, me and Jorge, we've been, you saw what he did to Jorge. He wasn't able to submit Jorge, and, me and Jorge have been working on every weakness, every strength that Maia has. So I have all that information that Jorge has. He's coming up against a completely different style fight. You know, he's coming up against a guy who has 22 years of wrestling in his back pocket. So it's a completely different fight with me than it is with Jorge. So having the knowledge that Jorge gave me and the knowledge that I already have in this game, that's nice. That's lights out for Demian Maia come October 28th.
What does it say about you, Colby? And I kind of know the statement you're making, but I'm going to ask the question anyways. But what kind of a statement does it make for you if you're able to go out there and execute the way you want to against Demian Maia? Because the guy's lost twice in recent fights at welterweight. One was to Rory McDonald, a fight that he won early, and then Rory came back late. You know, kudos to Rory. And then the Woodley fight, obviously more recently. Now, we can talk about the Jake Shields fight. That's a little further back. But talk about those two welterweight fights in particular. But if you can go out there and dominate, finish, put away Demian Maia, in the first round, or just put him away at some point in the 3 rounds. I mean, how strong of a statement does that make for you in this division?
That's the statement that shows that I am the new dawn of the welterweight division. I run this division now. Every fighter that competes in this division, they compete in this division because I allow them to.
I love it. You mentioned, of course, you embrace stepping into enemy territory. I talked to your strength and conditioning coach, Stevie Richards, a couple weeks ago. Obviously, everyone knows he comes from a pro wrestling background. He's a guy who has kind of lived in the heat of the moment, so to speak, being a pro wrestler, dealing with the crowd. Now, I know he's there for strength and conditioning, but has Stevie given you any advice on dealing with that crowd? Are you excited about that?
Yeah, definitely. Stevie's given me lots of valuable advice that's, helping me to go into enemy territory and completely spoil homecoming. So, having a guy like Stevie in my camp and the knowledge that he's bringing from me from winning past world titles, it's huge because this is my time. I'm about to get a world title. This is my division now, and he's giving me all the knowledge, all the secrets and the keys to success. So I can't thank Stevie Richards enough.
Yeah, he was a great guy to talk to. He said he loves working with you, and he was excited to see what you guys could do together, going into this fight, because this is kind of the first full time you've had to work together. Yeah,
definitely. It's exciting, man. We're going to bring something new to the sport that the sport's never seen before. So, expect a new transformation. This is what everybody's been waiting for. We're going to give everybody, all the fans, what they want to see, and that's pure, endless entertainment.
Absolutely. Now, right now, where the welterweight division is at right now, we know that Tyron Woodley's out right now dealing with his shoulder injury. We got this fight coming up, a week after your fight with your teammate, of course, Jorge Masvidal and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Obviously, both those guys are coming off losses, but, you know Jorge, that guy's a warrior, man. I love watching him fight. Robbie Lawler is a former teammate of yours. He's out there. But do you feel like if you beat Demian Maia, do you feel like at that point, if you go out there and beat him, that you should separate yourself from the rest of the contenders and you should get that title shot?
Yes, I do believe that after I beat Demian Maia, because that's a foregone conclusion. That's the absolute certainty that I'm going to retire Demian Maia on October 28th. I do believe that puts me in elite company as the number one clear-cut contender. I feel like Robbie Lawler had a shot. He got knocked out quick. He's old guard. He's a thing of the past. He needs to hang it up already. He had his time, but his time has come to an end, and this is my time now. So I do believe that I'm the next clear-cut number one contender. Stephen Thompson, he already had 2 opportunities at the belt. He couldn't hack. So they need to bring in a killer like me to dethrone Tyron Woodley. That guy needs to be sent to retirement, man. I'm sick of him playing the victim role, acting like, everybody's racist because they don't want to see me fight. No, that's not the case, man. You play it safe. I know his weaknesses. I'm ready to retire Tyron Woodley. So after I beat Demian Maia, Tyron Woodley better be next for me.
Have you run into Tyron in the gym more recently? I'm sure you saw. I think I saw you react. You made some comments. Finally, kind of reacted to you a little bit in an interview recently, where he said that he said you don't talk to him in the gym, and you stand by him, but you don't ever say anything to him. So, what was your reaction when you saw that stuff from Tyron?
It's the same reaction I see every time the guy opens his mouth. He's a fake. He's a phony. He's a crybaby. He makes stuff up. The guy, he has no truth to anything he says. That's a complete lie. The guy doesn't even train at American Top Team. He trains over in St. Louis, and then when he's not training in St. Louis, he goes to Duke Rufus. So don't believe everything you see or everything you hear out of that guy. You got to believe what you see. And that guy's a complete fake, man. He's a phony. I can't wait to expose that guy soon.
Do you think you've already gotten under his skin, even at this point, even though you're not fighting him yet? Do you feel like you've already gotten under his skin?
I was under his skin a couple years ago when I was putting whoopings on him in the gym at American Top Team when he used to train at American Top Team. So definitely I think I've gotten under his skin. I mean, he's completely blocked me off every social media outlet. But yet he still wants to make comments about me. Like, he'll make a comment on American Top Team's page when they put up a picture about me. Oh, don't give him attention, this and that. So I already know I'm under his skin. And on top of that, I was under his skin when I was giving him ass whoopings and beating the shit out of him when he was supposed to be this unheralded god, and I was this up-and-coming guy who nobody know about. So Tyron Woodley knows what's coming with Colby Chaos Covington, and that's a guy that's going to put you into retirement for good.
Yeah. Well, I know you mentioned to me when we talked the last time about the situation with, Dana and Tyron, and, you had that chat with Dan Lambert, and you decided to, kind of let, sleeping dogs lie a little bit about that. But how is that, going to affect you, when this fight comes about, you fight Tyron? I mean, I know I don't want to jump out of Demian Maia, but you said it's a certainty, so I'm going to ask you about it. I mean, how does that affect the home life at the gym if you do end up fighting Tyron? Because I know at least Dean Thomas, that's one of his main coaches, and I know he is one of the main coaches at ATT.
Dean Thomas is one of the main coaches at ATT for the women's team and the amateur team. That guy, he doesn't have anything to do with any of the pros, really. He's kind of a low-level guy. Yeah, him and Tyron are boys, but, Tyron, he doesn't train the American Top Team anymore, Damon. He's over in St. Louis. He's over in Duke Rufus in Milwaukee, so he can't claim the ATT no more. He's literally been here maybe one time in the last 2 years. And besides that, it's not going to change anything, because look at what happened with him and Robbie Lawler when Robbie Lawler was ATT. The best guys in the world, they got to fight each other. There's no running and hiding. I heard he's already trying to make excuses. No, I don't want to fight Colby. Oh, he's got to earn it. You got to deserve it. I'm earning it, man. I'm running through this division. I'll clear it out until I get you, Tyron Woodley. Just know I'm coming for you.
You obviously have no problem asking for what you want. As I said earlier, you've kind of become the master of calling your shot and getting exactly what you want. Now, again, I'm stepping ahead a little bit, but have you already thought about what you're going to say on that microphone down in Brazil when they put that microphone in front of your face? Because I have a feeling you might have a little idea of who you're going to call out.
Yeah, definitely. I got a good post-fight win speech prepared, and you're just going to have to tune in October 28th. In Sao Paulo, Brazil, only on Fox Sports 1.
Do you feel like, and listen, because you fought on, cards with your teammates before, you fought on cards with guys I know you like and respect, things like that, but because of the hype that you're bringing into this and the attention that you're bringing into this, do you kind of feel like the attention, the kind of people's main event, if you will, is the fight with you and Maia, that this is kind of the one everyone's going to be watching?
Yeah, definitely. Maia, he's homegrown, he's from Sao Paulo, Brazil, so everybody's got eyes on him. No one cares about Lyoto Machida. Come on, that guy's coming off a drug suspension. He's not in the title picture anymore. Me and Demian Maia are in direct title picture. He just fought for the title. I'm the next up contender to fight for the title. So that's the real main event, and it's going to be fireworks. It's going to be a lot more exciting. So when you guys see me lay Demian Maia to rest, it's going to be a favor to him, Brazil, all his family and friends. They're going to get to see my highlight reel, me knocking him out forever, for as long as my career goes on. So I'm paying tribute to Brazil. They should thank me for laying him to rest.
Well, I tell you what, man, I look forward to this one. This is a tremendous fight. I got to tell you what, though, man, this is close enough. I assume this is, unless something crazy happens, probably the last fight for you in 2017. Everything goes well against Demian Maia. I'm quite sure you're excited about a very busy 2018, and I'm sure that title's going to be on your radar.
Absolutely, man. That belt's coming home. I've been telling everybody since the beginning, and it's coming. It's a realization that's going to come true. I know Tyron Woodley said he's all hurt with his shoulder, but I don't know. I think that might be fake news and fake media, so we'll have to find out. He was saying, he needed surgery, but now he doesn't need surgery. if he's ready to go after I beat Demian Maia, we can fight the next week in New York. He can call a shot. I don't care, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It doesn't matter. Tyron Woodley, you name the shot. Whenever you want to fight, I'm going to be ready for you. So you better be ready.
I love it. Colby, man, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you, buddy. Obviously, safe training the rest of the way, man. Safe travels down to Brazil. I look forward to seeing you back in action, and let's catch up after the fight.
All right, sounds good. I look forward to talking to you soon, Damon.
All right, man. Talk to you soon, buddy.
All right, later, brother.
Bye-bye.
All systems go. Check it out.
You're listening to Fight Society with Damon Martin and Jeremy Loper.
Check it out.
Wow, shots fired on my boy Dean Thomas, huh?
Taking a couple rounds there.
I don't know how. Whoa, easy, man. Not a real coach.
Got to watch out for that shrapnel flying whenever Colby Covington.
So we're gonna let Dean come on, and
we'll talk to Dean.
that is quite the statement. I'll take issue with that statement. I think that is off base. I think he's obviously trying to get in someone's head.
Yeah, Colby's trying to get himself into title contention. He beats Demian Maia this week, and he's got a good argument for it.
So we talked about your tweet earlier after Joe Rogan talked about UFC 217.
Yeah,
and I just want to clarify something. So the seating chart that you sent out, so the seats in blue and red, those are the seats available?
Those are the seats available.
I mean, it's like not that big of a deal. I mean, like I'm an events, being in the business I'm in rock and roll, like we do shows all the time. So, I mean,
okay,
it's New York, so there's a lot going on.
Okay, but think of it this way, okay?
I mean, that's not that many seats.
But think of it this way. It's Madison Square Garden. I know it's a little pricier of a show.
So how much is it, like, in contrast?
Between, you're talking about price?
Yeah.
The lowest tickets right now are around $200.
Wow. Okay. So where's that? I mean, those are some seats up high.
Yeah. But, okay. So here's the thing. When you look at an event like this, fights, typically big fights, the ringside, it always goes from like the center out. The ringside seats, all those floor seats, like the first row of the upper decks, they always sell you. The two things that sell the quickest at fights are the ones that are in the upper deck because they're cheap. And then like the ringside kind of spreading out because everyone wants to be close to the fight.
Yeah, right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Those middle seats are the ones that are left over. But when you look at that map, there's like a smattering of seats still available on the floor. There's some in the next section up. It's kind of just a little strange. And when you think about Georges St-Pierre's return, who is supposed to be one of the biggest draws in the sport, you think people would fall over themselves to buy tickets to go see this. You know what I mean? Like, when they put tickets on sale when he fought Jake Shields in Toronto, those tickets went like hotcakes. That was 56,000 tickets. Now, granted, the prices were different because obviously you want to fill that kind of a stadium. But still, Georges St-Pierre in Montreal, when he fought in Montreal for the first time, tickets were just gone. People wanted to be there for that moment. And last year, and I understand it was the first year the event was there, and it was Connor, but those tickets sold out so incredibly fast. Now, I'm not saying it has to be a sellout. I'm just saying that you want it to be a near sellout. You want it to be to where, there's just a few smattering of tickets left, and that's not a few. There's quite a few tickets left. Think about your Christmas, your upcoming Christmas show, Blitzmas.
Yeah.
You got Seether coming to town. How quickly did that show sell out?
Fast.
Quick. Right?
Okay.
Oh, it
right.
Sold out quick.
No,
Shut up.
Pretty fast.
It sold out quick.
We have a great fan base.
Like I heard it. I was in studio with you guys the day it was announced.
And it was
and like the next day it was sold out. It was gone.
It was really fast.
Okay. That's what I'm saying. Demand. People want to see that band. Seether's one of the biggest bands in the world right now.
Because they're constantly touring. They're relevant. They have records out. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's sold out.
Georges St-Pierre ain't got no records, man.
I'm just saying.
Where are all them releases, George?
This is not me just sitting here spending an hour shitting on Georges St-Pierre, but I'm just saying that these are all indications that the guy's not the draw that I think everyone thought he was going to be coming back.
DJ Khaled.
That's all I'm saying.
DJ Khaled, Georges St-Pierre track. Fire.
Just saying.
All right, we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen, man. This fight is so weird. I can't wait to break it down next week, though. I'm almost messing up every single time and talking about it right now.
Well, we'll talk about it. We're going to be talking about that fight next week. Obviously, we'll break down what happened in Brazil this weekend. Great fight card in Brazil, actually. You got
tell me who.
John Lineker's back in action. He's going to take on Marlon Vera. That's a fun fight, of course, as I mentioned. Colby Covington against Demian Maia. That's a big fight. And, of course, the main event, Lyoto Machida back after his 18-month suspension, taking on Derek Brunson, who is obviously one of the most exciting middleweight fighters in the world. So it's actually a really solid card for Saturday night in Brazil.
And where does that air at?
FS1.
FS1. All right,
Saturday
cool.
night.
And then we're going to be live the next weekend. We should tell people
Yes.
right now that we're actually going to be at the show in Virginia.
For Matt Brown's retirement fight.
Yeah. So if we got to get it together, man. We got to figure out what's going on in Virginia the night before. Obviously, we're going to have I'm going to be doing a lot with him. So, we got to figure out a time.
We'll see if we can just do we'll just see if we can do the podcast like walking out to the octagon with him. I think that'll work out.
It'll probably be easy that way.
Yeah. Just put a mic in his face as we're like walking to the octagon with him.
Yeah. Probably won't be a big deal, right?
No. He won't
I don't
mind.
think so.
He won't mind.
All right, so that's it for us. At Damon Martin, you can find him on Twitter, Instagram, everywhere. You can find me on Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere. At Jeremy Loper. Only on Instagram will I be at Lopeness, LOPENESS. Don't even ask. And then you can see my YouTube channel, Loper and Randy. Randy with an I. It's my family. We do a little rock and roll family excursions, adventures.
It's like Gene Simmons' family with less makeup.
There you go. My wife and I, we do like a radio show. So if you want to check that out, loperandrandy.com. It's daily. You can download an app and hear it live. Damon has the greatest. If you're into The Walking Dead and like everything nerd culture, movies with the Justice League about to come out, you got to go check out his website, nerdcoremovement.com. With The Walking Dead back,
yes,
your recaps of The Walking Dead are legend. See, you're known for MMA, but now it's weird. So you are getting a lot of shine on Twitter for your Walking Dead stuff. Like every season The Walking Dead comes out, you get more and more retweets, and yeah, you're a viral guy, man.
I try my best.
I'm verified on Instagram, guys. If that's attractive to you, check me out. Holler.
Sit down. Who that nigga thinking that he frontin' on that man? Off my stage.
You're listening to Fight Society with Damon Martin and Jeremy Loper.
Check it out.